and raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you tell us your name, please?
Jonathan Marsee,
Mr. Marsee, where do you live?
3011 Lawton Court, Panama City, Florida.
How long have you lived there?
This time, about 4 years.
What do you mean by this time?
Well, before that, I lived at 8905 Italy Road, which with my ex-wife. We got separated and I moved out back into my parents' house, which was 3011 Lawton Court.
Okay. Mr. Marsee, my name is Brian Davidson, and I represent the Kellys in this crash, and I've got some questions for you today. Have you ever given a deposition before?
No, this is my first.
Have you ever testified in court or anything along those lines?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, there's some kind of basic ground rules. I'm sure your attorney has filled you in on all of those. It's not a marathon. I don't suspect it's going to take too terribly long anyway, but if you need a break for anything, just let me know. The only rule, because we're lawyers and we have to have rules about rules, is if I've asked you a question, you have to answer it before you get to take a break. Okay?
Okay.
Answer everything out loud, so the court reporter there will get everything down. She's typically typing away. Try not to answer over me or interrupt me, and I'll give you the same courtesy. So let me get my question out, and I'll let you get your answer out. That way our record's nice and clear. Is that fair?
Okay.
If you don't understand something I'm asking you, and trust me, it's liable to happen because I say stuff that doesn't make any sense at all the time. So if you don't understand something I'm asking you, just let me know. I'll be happy to rephrase it so that we're both on the same page, okay?
Okay.
All right. Where do you currently work?
Train.
Training?
Train.
Oh, you work out of train?
Yep.
And where were you working at back in December of 2015?
Walmart in Lynn Haven.
What'd you do out there?
I was a frozen dairy associate.
Well, that's a cool job. And what do you do for train?
I'm a production technician.
What? You're what?
Production technician.
Okay. Get a little closer. I can't hear you that well. And what do you do as a production technician for train?
I work on the bay line section of the plant running materials.
That's still not really helpful for me as a lawyer who's never been inside the train plant.
I drive a tugger or work in an area that provides materials to the main line that builds the air conditioning units.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're getting the supplies and the materials they need to build the things as they need them.
Yes.
All right. Where were you living back in December of 15?
I was at 3011 Lawton Court.
And who was living there with you?
My parents and my brother.
What are your parents' names?
Johnny Marsee and Sandra Marsee.
And your brother's name?
Joshua Marsee.
How old is Joshua?
42 at the present.
Tell me about any kinfolk you have that live in Bay County, Florida, over the age of 18.
I have a sister.
What's
She's
her name?
Jennifer Marsee.
Okay.
Actually, it's Jennifer Dyken now. She got married about a year ago.
And who's her husband?
Jesse Dyken.
They have any children over 18?
Not together.
All right, keep going.
He has four
Okay.
kids, so.
He has 4 kids. What are his children over the age of 18's name?
Levi, Tyler. Yeah, there's only 2 of them.
Any others?
Logan, which is like, Logan, he's 15. And Cece, she's 9.
Any other family outside of your parents, the brothers, and their children that you just mentioned and wives here in Bay County?
Ex-wife, other than that, no.
What's her name?
Tasha Jackson.
Any cousins, uncles, aunts, nephews?
Not in
Do you
Bay
have a
County.
name? Not in Bay County. How long have you lived in Bay County?
27 years.
Wow. Do you remember of any churches or civic institutions, clubs, anything like that?
Am I a member?
Yes.
No.
Do you attend any churches or civic organizations or things like that?
No.
Who's your best friend?
Actually, I have 4 of them.
Okay. What are their names?
Mark Mayer, John Peterson, William Egan, and Chris Sanchez.
They all live in Bay County?
Yes.
I know those are all weird questions. I usually preface this by letting you know that I don't want those, if we have to try this case in front of a jury, I don't want those people sitting out there in my jury panel. So that's why I was wanting to know those questions. Now, are you currently married or you divorced? You mentioned you're separated.
Divorced as of a year ago.
And you are living with your parents still?
Yes, sir.
In their home? And is it still just your parents and your brother and you?
Yes.
Now, I know you have a son. What's his name?
Nalin.
Nalin?
Nalin.
And where does he live?
He during the week he resides with his mother, and on the weekends I have him.
How old is he?
5 at present.
Oh, still a fun age.
Oh yeah.
Like you should put a 1 in front of that 5, and it's not so much fun anymore. All right. That's me. All right. Well, do you recall the events that happened on, let's say I sound like a lawyer. Do you remember December 11th, 2015, when this crash happened?
Yes.
Where were you coming from prior to the crash?
I was coming from my parents' house.
And where were you on your way to?
Waller Elementary in Youngstown.
And why were you on the way to elementary school out in Youngstown?
Pick up my 2 daughters.
What are their names?
Lillian Jackson, she's 13, and Patricia Ivy Marsee, she's 8.
And you had your son with you, I believe?
Yes.
Where was he?
He was in the front passenger seat.
Would he have been in a car seat at that time, I hope?
Yes.
Front facing, rear facing?
Front facing.
Tell me what you remember about the crash that happened.
I was driving up 390 to 231, and we were approaching the intersection, and my son was watching videos on my phone, and he called my name, and I looked over at him, and when I looked back up, there was a vehicle crossing the intersection in front of us, and I slammed on the brakes and swerved to avoid him.
How much time did you have between the time you first saw that vehicle and when the collision happened?
Maybe seconds.
Where were you as far as in the roadway intersection when you first saw the other vehicle?
I don't remember.
Would you have been actually in the intersection, or would it have been before you entered the intersection?
I don't remember.
You travel that intersection frequently?
At that time, it was pretty much every Friday.
And if I remember correctly, that intersection, that's 390 and Transmitter?
Yes.
You familiar with that stretch of roadway there?
Oh, yeah.
When was the last time you saw the color of the traffic light that would have been controlling your lane of travel?
Right before I looked over at my son.
And what color was it?
Green.
Did you have an opportunity to look back up and see if it was still green after you looked over at your son?
No, as soon as I looked back up, I saw the vehicle in front of me and slammed on the brakes.
What happened from there?
After the crash, lady came over and opened my door and was telling me to shut off the engine. You know, didn't want to start a fire or anything. So, Me and my son got out of the vehicle, went to the side of the road, and I'm assuming other pedestrians, maybe even some off-duty cops came over and helped move the vehicles out of the way as much as possible so traffic could resume. So,
Did you call 911? Anything along those lines?
I did not call 911.
Were you injured at all, or your son?
No,
Good.
we were fine.
Describe for me, if you would, what it was like inside your vehicle when the crash occurred.
Kind of dusty. The airbag had deployed on my side. The airbag on my son's side was not working at the time, so it did not deploy. So,
That was probably a blessing.
yes.
What kind of vehicle were you driving?
The 2006 BMW X3, I believe. Silver.
That is an SUV,
Yes,
or was an SUV?
it was. Yeah.
Was that BMW totaled out?
Yep.
So it was crashed.
Yes, it was.
Was there a reason why your son was in the front passenger seat of that SUV and not in the back?
I had put him up there. So
And immediately prior to the crash, he was playing with your phone.
yeah, he was watching the video.
Do you remember what he was watching?
At that time, Blaze and the Monster Machine.
Blaze and the Monster Machine.
That was his favorite video. So
whatever pacifies him, right?
yeah, exactly.
And he, as you're coming up to the intersection, lights red, or excuse me, lights green.
Yes.
He calls your name, Daddy, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And then you glance over, and what did you do or say?
I glanced over and he was pointing at the screen, so I looked at the screen real quick and then looked back up.
You look at the screen and you look back up, and the collision immediately happens.
I saw a vehicle in front of me and I slammed on the brakes.
Airbags deploy.
Yes.
What happens physically to you inside the vehicle? Do you recall?
I must have blacked out because I really don't remember. So.
The next thing you recall, would that be when the lady comes over to you and opens your door?
Yes.
Do you recall who that lady was?
No, I do not remember. It was a shorter lady with, short cropped hair. Kind of heavy set. So.
How quickly did the other people that you were talking about that came to assist, how quickly did they come over?
Fairly quick. I mean, they were getting the vehicles out of the way, like, not within a couple of minutes.
Did you talk to any of these people on the scene?
I talked to an EMT that came over to check us out, and after a while, I talked to the husband of the defendant, but not really talked to anybody else. Well, a police officer came over and took my information, asked me what happened.
What did you tell the police officer?
Object to the form. You can answer. Can I have a standing objection?
Yes.
Basically the same thing I just told you.
And would that be a city police officer, or was that Florida Highway Patrol?
I don't remember.
And just for the record, my objection is based on the accident report privilege.
So noted. Do you know who Erica K. Smith is?
No, I do not.
Do you know or have ever met my clients, the Marsee, the Kellys?
I've met the husband briefly.
That'd be
At
at the
the
crash scene?
Yeah.
And what did you two discuss at the crash scene?
He came over and asked me how me and my son were doing. I told him we were fine. I asked him how his wife and daughter was. I don't recall what he said, so And I mean, we just chatted for a moment, and then he went back over to them.
What, if anything, do you feel that the Kellys, Ms. Kelly, did wrong in driving her car?
I don't know that she did anything wrong.
You made the turn that she would have been making, that left-hand turn before, correct? Have you ever come from her lane of travel?
Yes.
And made that left-hand turn that she was trying to make, or
Yes.
make the turn she was trying to make? Do you know what kind of traffic control signal there is for that lane?
It's a light like the rest of them.
Is it just a green light? Is it a turn arrow?
I don't remember.
Is it possible that you ran a red light?
I don't remember.
Have you ever been cited for any traffic offenses, driving offenses, speeding, careless driving, those sorts of things?
Check to the form relevance you can answer.
I've had previous accidents where one was involving, I was on a cell phone, and I'm not sure what I was cited for that, but other than that, no, not really.
No prior speeding tickets?
Yeah, I've had prior speeding tickets, but
How many?
Same objection.
at least 2.
And when was the crash that you were talking about, where you're talking on your cell phone?
I want to say at least 4 years prior.
Was it here in Bay County?
Yeah.
Do you remember, was it in municipal? Do you remember where it was?
It was over on 19th Street.
Downtown?
Yeah, well, it was on 19th Street at the near the apartments behind Lowe's.
Panama City, proper.
Yes.
Some of these streets I've learned down here go on forever. I mean, maybe 19th Street, Panama City, maybe 19th Street, Callaway, for all you know. Let's see. Ms. Marsee, is there anything you feel that you could have done differently to avoid this collision?
Put my son in the back seat to minimize the distraction.
I just want to make sure he was okay. Got him checked out.
Yeah, he was fine. So he's still fine to this day.
Well, he's 5. They're pretty resilient at that age. I wish I was still as flexible and bouncy as I was when I was 5. Where'd you go to high school?
Mosley,
Where's your graduation class?
96.
Did you go to school anywhere after that?
I went to Gulf Coast for like a year or 2 for a couple semesters.
Any other education after that to get an associate's degree at Gulf Coast or a degree?
I never finished. I started 2 degrees and never finished.
Did you grow up around here?
We moved here when I was 12, 13 years old.
We've got to ask some more of those weird questions now. Have you ever pled guilty of a felony or a crime involving dishonesty?
No.
Have you ever been convicted of any felonies or crimes involving dishonesty?
No.
Where do your daughters live?
With their mother.
Is that the same mother that
Yes.
mother your son?
And actually, the oldest she's not legally mine. She's my stepdaughter. So, but I'm the only daddy she's ever known. So.
Did you review any documents or photographs getting ready for this deposition?
Other than what she sent me, no.
Well, I don't want to know what anything she said was, but what documents and photographs did you review getting ready for your deposition?
No photographs, just the documents she sent me on how the deposition's going to go and what to do, what not to do.
Did you review your interrogatory responses, request for protection documents, anything like that?
Me and Miss Marsee went over the
I
interrogatory.
don't know. I don't know anything you say. I just want to know what documents and pictures you looked at. Okay. Trooper Lucas. Well, I was about to say Lucas. Trooper Tavares was the highway patrolman that responded to the crash. Do you know him?
No.
One of my usual questions is, were you using your phone at the time? But your 5-year-old, your kid was using the phone at the time. You have any estimate of how fast you were going?
Speed limit with my son, with my children in the car, I usually obtain the speed limit.
What's the speed limit there? Do you know?
45, I believe.
Would that be your estimate of how fast you were going when you went through the intersection? It was 45?
Yes, sir.
Just tell me about all the conversations you had there on the scene, crash site.
I mean, trooper came over, asked us, asked me what happened. I gave him my report. The husband came over. We talked for a moment. My dad showed up to help me collect stuff from the vehicle. My ex-mother-in-law showed up to take my son.
What's her name?
Maria Jackson.
And who else? Is that your father?
My father.
Your father
Johnny
did?
Marsee.
Okay, and your your former mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just like the way that sounds. I don't moving to strike.
Yeah, before you get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. I can't get through a day without doing that. You know me better. So she got your son, and did she take your son off while you handled what was going on, or what happened?
Yeah, everything was pretty much said and done at that time. She showed up. She was going to take him, but everything was said and done. So me and him left with my father.
Anybody else there on the crash scene that you had a conversation with, or that it saw the scene and what was going on?
That saw the scene? No. The only other person I talked to was the EMT.
Did you see the EMT examining the Kellys?
Yes, they were over there.
Did you notice whether or not they were transported to the hospital?
I don't remember.
And your BMW was totaled.
Yes, sir.
Did you have any photographs of your BMW after the crash?
I did, but I do not now.
Where did those photographs go?
I had them on my phone, and then they got deleted.
Prior to them getting deleted, did you provide a copy of those to either your lawyer or your insurance company?
I don't remember.
You on any medications at the time of the crash?
No.
Did you had any cocktails, any alcoholic beverages in the 24 hours leading up to the crash?
No.
Did you smoke?
No.
Good for you. Was there any reason for any physical or condition going on with you that would have impeded or affected your ability to operate a car that day?
No.
You didn't have the flu or anything like that?
No.
You think was there anything wrong with your vehicle that would have contributed to the collision?
No.
Do you have anything on your dash or your windshield that would have obstructed your view of the intersection of the traffic light?
No.
What was Miss Kelly and her daughter, what were they doing following the crash?
Once they got out of the vehicle, they went off to the side of the road away from us, me and my son. And her daughter was laying on the ground, and Miss Kelly was near her daughter.
Do you think they were in any kind of pain? Did they look like they were having issues?
I don't remember.
Mr. Marsee, have I given you an opportunity to respond to the questions that I've asked you?
Yes, sir.
Have I been fair to you today?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything that you've recalled from maybe a question I asked earlier on in the deposition that you brought up, something you recalled or remembered, anything you want to change or add to or amend?
No.
This is the last opportunity I'll get to talk to you, most likely, before we go to trial in this case if we have to. So, is there anything that you feel is important to the events of this crash that I didn't ask you that you'd like to tell me?
No.
Mr. Marsee, I appreciate your candor today, and that's all the questions I have for right now. I'll pass the witness.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions either.